Alright, where we left off, we were almost done with the roof. We're going to actually continue at this point. We're just so close. Just a few more shingles away. And then I could actually do the chimney and some of the foliage behind it. And I think for all set and purposes, we're going to be like 95% done. And nobody's going to be more happy with that than me. Because this has been a long haul. It's just a small little building, but I did a lot of detail in it. We have all sorts of, we've incorporated every technique on earth for inking. And you can't appreciate it till I show you some of the techniques involved. Some of these are very minute. Some of these are obvious, but you really can't appreciate it until you try doing it yourself. Not that I recommend you doing this. A lot of times I have students trying it, they go crazy. Some like it, some actually are drawn to it. So, just a little bit left and this entire roof is going to be done. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. I'm going to flip this up and you can see the end result. It's really incredible. When I'm done with the roof, I'm going to go into the surrounding areas like the foliage, the chimney. We have just a little bit of the roof left, just a little. I'm going to darken up some of the existing shingles because right now they're beginning to look a little bit the same. God forbid I should let that happen after all this work. We're going to make some of these not as dark just to make them stand out a little bit more. Let's darken up this gun. Almost done. Seconds away. We're going to do the chimney next. The chimney is a set of bricks also. Not far from where we were. Almost so close. 3 bricks left. 3. My God. I can't believe we're so close. 1, 2. Now what I'm going to do when I'm all done with the roof, I'm probably going to go over it one more time at home. Just individually see the ones that need a little bit more attention. There will be a few. Ladies and gentlemen, the roof is done. The entire roof has been individually attended to. Now, we are going to do the chimney, some of the foliage, the grass, the main foyer. Here we go. The real trick to this now is to make sure each brick has some character, maintain the proper distance between each one. The angle has to be kept at an even pitch. Now, the trick here is the effect. There's kind of a light cement section of this chimney. I have no idea whether there's the proper mortaring had to be kept that way. I'm not a builder, but we do it. I want to maintain that. If you notice what I'm doing every now and then, I'm doing that with my pen. It's based on a lack of air. You have to put air into the suction to make it work. So when I do that, I'm actually calling ink into the surface, and it's not a nervous tick. I'm just making ink flow. There we go. We're going to make this go to each brick also. We're going to keep it even. Now, noticing the photograph, these are also bricks above here. We're going to do the same thing. I actually should use this pen at this point. I'm doing the same thing, actually calling ink to the surface, but it's not working. So we might have to resort to the other pen. Yep. I should have made it work before I got here, but I didn't. It doesn't matter. This pen is going to work just fine. We have to make sure the amount of space is the same as this bricking. Sometimes it's very hard, but I could eyeball it, and in that I could actually make each one of these consistent. And only because I've done this so long. I think most people have a tough time doing it. This is the trick. You have to make each brick has a different amount of space. So what you're going to do at this point is just make sure you give just the right amount of space for each brick. Now, once you've established the first set, you go into the second set and make sure that each one has the same amount of space. Same thing up here. This area is going to be like this. Now that you're given this much room for that, you have to make sure this is a small brick. And you have to keep that consistent. Bricks are bricks. They don't become shorter. They have an equal amount of space. One of my first jobs as a young lad was hauling bricks for a local builder. I was about 11. And I got paid for carrying bricks on a fodder to a different section. It was a terrible job, but it's a good way to get some money when you're 12 or 13. And there were a lot of builders in town, so I could just do a summer job. I got to appreciate how buildings are built and how architecture actually works and how the symmetry of each brick was how it evolved. You don't appreciate it till you do it. And like I said, there are a lot of buildings being built when I was a young person, and I really got to watch it being done and appreciate it. Probably wait to this day I appreciate it. Now, once I have these bricks positioned, then I'm going to put a little stipple in each one to make them look red. Once you have a little bit, you have to make sure that the corresponding brick is long. So this one's going to be the long one. You have to keep that amount of space consistent. So I'm going to do it. We go into here. These are going to be the short ones. The consistency in bricks is very important. If you lose that consistency, the effect is lost. It's like a magic deck. If you don't keep the magic deck consistent, it's not going to work. Now the shadows are also going to be a factor. This side of the building receives more sunlight, and this far side doesn't. So what we're going to do, I'll show you a little effect we could do. We're going to have this side very light. Obviously the sun rises, hits more light to this side, so we're going to make the amount of stipple we put in this corresponding very light. Whereas this side is going to be darker. So we're going to put just a nominal amount of stipple, nothing heavy. The bricks are all red, so they're going to be all the same amount of stipple, except for the ones that are not facing the sunlight. They're going to be a little bit darker. They're all going to be consistently the same amount of stipple, but more of it, because it's the far side. It's receiving less sunlight. The only way to show that is simply add more stipple. I could put cross etching later as I see fit. I'm not going to put any stipple in the cement here because it is lighter. Okay, this side is the area that doesn't receive sunlight. We're going to make it darker. Only through one method, more stipple. So if you notice, we are putting a lot more stipple in it. It's kind of neat. I want to maintain the brick feel. So I want to almost not go to the very edges of the brick. And that'll keep the brick feeling alive. The consistency of mortar is going to be intensified. We're almost done with the chimney. We're going to finish the bricking in the background, then I'm going to do some of the foliage. I'm just so happy that the roof's done. I might add some more stipple to the bottom of the building, this structure. When I look at it, the roof almost to be the same intensity. And the only way to deal with that is to make the bottom just a bit darker. The only way to do that is to add more stipple. But I don't know if I really want to put too much. You got to remember, when this is printed, you don't want it to solidify and be one solid mass of ink. So I have to see exactly what's going to be. I'm always thinking ahead. I always have to imagine what the end result's going to be. When you print anything, the ink is going to congeal. It's going to come into a large mass. And whatever you put down for one little set of dots, they're going to be solid, solid, solid. Sometimes if you have the printer do a good job, he actually will make the dots recess. They actually form lighter situations. It all depends on how you address the printer. You got to tell him that. I recently had a print done, and it was done digitally, and it came out too light. I was really upset. You really should. I like the old-fashioned style of printing. They used to take a line shot of everything, and it was just so much more dramatic. Digital artwork, until they can make it look more vibrant, I don't know, I'm not happy with it. It's just so fine and so cold. I guess a lot of people like it though, but I'm a purist. I love the old-fashioned line art. It's just a little bit more intense. Alright, so I'm making this side of the chimney darker. because of again, the sunlight is not hitting it. The sunlight's hitting that and not this. I don't want it to be overtly dark, but I do want it to be noticeable. Can't believe I got the roof done. Boy, that's a big, big deal. Ideally, I like to present the person who runs the library a finished set of prints. I'm sure he'll be happy. Again, I said you could make this into so many usages. There's no end to what you could do with it. And a building of this type of usage, why, there's no end to what you could do with it. Alright, we're going to make this brick darker to the very bottom. I'll flip it over to show you the effect. I have to be careful because there's a light area here where the cement is lighter. And I have to make sure I don't darken it too much, even though the sunlight doesn't hit here. It is still a little bit darker than the other half. That's a trick because you still have to make it darker, but not as dark as the other half. So I'm going to put a little stipple in, not a lot. And the next thing we'll do is we'll pop over to the foliage. I'll show you how that's done. It's really easy. I already did some foliage, and I don't make a big deal out of it. Some people will go really exotically heavy-handed. I cheat. I use a lot of little techniques that, for lack of a better word, assimilate that style. You don't have to make every bit of foliage one individual leaf. If you can make one image, fool the viewer into thinking, my God, that's a leaf, you've done your trick. It's a really big magic act. And if you know your techniques, you could do a lot of work with just a little technique. Now, this side is a little bit darker, no sunlight, so I'm going to put just a little stipple in that cement. And that's going to be all the effort we need to put into this. It's still going to be lighter than the rest. Very good. Only thing that's left is these. Again, this side is lighter. Sun hits it. We're just going to do a little bit of stipple, not a lot. Going to go into the far side where the sun doesn't hit. Going to make that a little bit darker. And that'll be it for the bricking. We go into the foliage and probably do a little bit of the main foyer, a little bit of the grass. There's no sunlight that gets there ever. It's one part of the building that's forever in the shadow. Maybe noon of the day, some sunlight hits it, but not as much because, again, the sun never addresses it formally. So, this is the dark part of the bricking. We're going to make it just a little bit heavy. We have to make it noticeably different than from the other side of the building, so we're just going to add a little bit more stipple. The really difficult thing, the real difficult chore at hand is to make it darker, and fully well knowing that once you do make a print of this, you don't want it to congeal. You know full well that if it does become too close together, that will result. You have to be real careful. So it's a difficult thing, but you do have to do it right. So here we are facing that dilemma. I do want it darker, but I don't want it too dark, so when I make copies of it, prints of it, we don't want it to congeal. It's like one of the questions I learned 25 years ago, 30 years ago in school. Don't make anything too dark. Sometimes you really got to just lighten up. Don't overdraw something. In this case, that was great information that teacher gave me, because boy, to this day I find myself using it. If you overdraw something and you make a print of it, it will fill in. And you lose all detail. Little did he know. Okay, we're almost going there. I could also darken up this end of the top of the chimney, because again, sunlight doesn't hit it. But I don't want to make it too dark. I just want it darker than that. And I'm going to leave it completely unadulterated. Nothing's going to go there. Because it is a rather light part of the structure, cement. Boy, I can't wait to get into the foliage. And it looks like we're almost there. The foliage is going to be a relief because it's all freehand. No rules, no stipple, just a lot of crazy little squiggles. But you can't be too wild. You have to really hold back. And you have to keep it uniform. I have to maintain a little bit more stipple because they're beginning to look a lot like the side where the sun is hitting it, and I do want it a bit darker. And we're almost there. So what we're going to do is darken up this side a little bit, just so you can see the contrast. So it's obvious. All right, looking good. What we're going to do now, flip this so I can look at it one more time. Make sure I've done it right. It looks very good. I'm going to make it a little bit more obvious. And it looks very good. Okay, foliage time. I'm going to look back to what I did there. I want to keep it exactly alike. So we're going to work a little bit more to make it look exactly what we have. And again, I'm just making a bunch of squiggles if you want to be exact. But I'm doing it as best as I can. And as I get lower and lower, the squiggles get tighter and tighter together. That is almost, in a sense, the way trees are. Boy, it's looking real fine. Here we go. I'm looking at the other areas. I want to make sure I follow the exact mantra. I don't want to go depart from it. I want it to be exactly like the others. These are the same type of trees. They seem to be sugar maples in the back. After a while, you get to know trees really good. Where I live, we have a bunch of oaks, and there's a whole different style of tree. I think as far as what is easier to draw, I kind of like sugar maples. Oaks are great too. There are certain beech trees that are very hard. We are almost there. I'm keeping the top of the tree light. I figure sunlight is going to hit that. And for me to put all that detail in the top is ridiculous. The sun is going to affect the colorization. is going to be affected by it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching the end of the trees. I can't believe it. This has been a long haul. I think in the future, when this is done, I want to give Peter, the administrator of the library, a copy of this. I'm sure he'll put it in the library so you can actually see firsthand, close up, the effect of the work. And I really would appreciate anybody's, just what they think. I think it's a lot of work, and I always appreciate someone's opinion. So it's going to be interesting. The only thing left to do now is some of the foliage in the front. But my God, all minor stuff right now. I could show you what I mean. There's just a little bit of grass in the front. The thing about the grass is you never actually show a line here. You show little blades. The sidewalk itself is just going to be a series of stipple, very light nominal stipple. I think I want to show you one more time the end result. And you can see the amount of work that has gone into it. And it looks pretty good. Anything that's left to do is all nominal. It's nothing. The building, the structure itself is pretty much complete. And I'm very proud of it. It has worked out nicely. I made sure there's just enough angles to show a little bit of a leverage here and there. I'm very happy with that. Okay, let's do a little bit more stipple here and there. Get the grass going. Make sure at this point we don't make any mistakes. Huh? Okay, so there we are. Looking good. The trick is going to be to make sure the grass doesn't cover up too much.